A new poll shows President Obama's support among our active duty military is now at an all-time low, and the decline is staggering. A survey by the Military Times finds only 15% of active duty service members approve of the president's job as commander-in-chief.
A recent Military Times survey revealed the popularity of the Armed Services Commander-in-Chief has fallen to an astonishing 15% approval rating. Disapproval has increased to 55%. Yet there are many who seem willing to accept a number of policy changes within the various corps. What do the numbers then really reveal? And what about a Hollywood hack who has decided to call an American hero a coward? Let's welcome to Midpoint a former Navy SEAL who saw 2 deployments in Iraq, decorated for valor, taking part in dozens of combat missions, author of Battle on the Home Front, a Navy SEAL's mission to save the American dream. It's a pleasure to welcome back Carl Higbie. Carl, good to see you again. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me on again.
I wanted to ask you right up front, first of all, about the story that everybody is talking about today. Michael Moore, the Hollywood director, basically taking out a tweet and calling snipers such as Chris Kyle a coward. He says, "My uncle killed by sniper in WW2. We were taught snipers were cowards. We'll shoot you in the back. Snipers aren't heroes, and invaders are worse." What do you think, Carl?
This makes me sick. And one thing I want to point out is, why are we giving this guy any validity? First off, he obviously has no personal responsibility. This is a guy who was at the Wall Street protests, and he was telling people that we need to push back against the 1%ers, yet he lives in a multi-million-dollar ranch. Why do we give this guy any time of day anyway?
I think what happens is simply because the movie is out there getting so much attention, and people have looked at Chris Kyle's life and they've seen that this isn't a guy who actually, and I'll bet you could probably answer to this too. A lot of these individuals who are involved in this part of a war, they don't take pleasure in this. This isn't something that they sate for. I mean, this is their job. They're trying to do it to protect other people here. So I think what's happened is, this is a guy who has never served in the military, probably never has served in anything where he had to protect himself or anybody else, and he's taking an American hero to task. I agree with you that sometimes we give too many people this sort of attention, but it certainly points out that there are people, for whatever reason, see what Chris Kyle did as a murderer.
He's not a murderer. As a soldier, I can fully say that what we did is a job. We did it for our country and our families and our friends. This is not something we enjoyed doing. Sure, we enjoyed defending freedom. We did it because we volunteered to do it. But at the end of the day, this is to degrade him for any type of sniper activity he did, or especially call him a coward. What has Michael Moore done for anybody other than himself?
Nothing, actually. He's won an Academy Award, put out a couple of films, and really, I think that's about it. So we'll leave your comments from there and let us move on. Let's get to the Military Times, talking about the fact that there doesn't seem to be a tremendous amount of faith in the commander-in-chief at this point. He is a very unpopular president in the eyes of the men and women in uniform. What does that then say about how they would follow him? Let's face it, he's the commander-in-chief. He says go, you have to go. What does this then tell us about how the military would follow a man whose judgment they don't trust?
Well, it's not about following him, because I think everybody who took that oath, they take it very seriously to support and defend the orders, or the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and obey the orders of those appointed over him. But when people have a commander-in-chief that does not put out for them, that does not have their best interest in mind, it makes them question the mission. And this is an article written in the Atlantic magazine a couple years ago, detailed why our best officers are leaving the military, and it's solely because of people like President Obama who have failed to institute a meritocracy in the military. And what that does is it leads a lot of discomfort on the battlefield, a lot of troops questioning their commanders, and it just trickles down from the president.
Give us an example, if you will, because you talked about military members who are now leaving the military, people who are not staying in for longer terms. How, in your opinion, does that affect what really happens on the battlefield? And how does that affect when you get those orders, you have to go in, you need to do something, the people there who still might question the orders being given to them by somebody at the top who doesn't, in easy parlance, have their back?
Right. Well, I can say unequivocally, I was involved in a court-martial for prisoner abuse back in 2010. Now, this was the battle of, the butcher of Fallujah. We caught him, brought him back. There was no evidence of prisoner abuse, yet we were still hung out by our superior commanders. The higher generals and the president had a chance to stop this nonsense, and they didn't. They let us fry through a court-martial, and even though we were all acquitted, there was our careers were destroyed. So this is just a classic example. If you see what's going on, there was a Marine recently discharged for some comments he had on Facebook that weren't derogatory, that just said he would not obey an unlawful order from the president. I mean, there is no top cover. They're more interested in the politics and the way something looks on paper than they are actually the troops fighting the war, just like Clint Lawrence, who's now in jail serving 2 counts of murder for defending his troops in Afghanistan.
What about those people, and I'm sure you've heard this as well on the other side, who would say, wait a minute, they are members of the American military, they are involved in war, but they need to be held to a higher standard because they are members of the American military. And yes, there will be people who make mistakes, need to be found and need to be punished properly.
Right now, President Obama is not focused on finishing this war or winning it. He's interested in just ending it. He's interested in getting the troops home. He's interested in how this looks on his resume, promises that he made. At the end of the day, we're not winning the global war on terrorism because of him. We have no ground in the fight. And the problem is, when you have things like this happen, guys say, I'm not going to join the military. And if I am going to join the military, I'm not going to put my heart and soul in this. And it's unfortunate because we have good men and women serving in the military and their hearts are being taken by politics.
Let me ask you on the other side of this entire survey here. It says that many people may even support him for the policy changes, such as the greatest cultural shift, swiftly growing acceptance of homosexuality in the ranks following the official change in the Don't Ask, Don't Tell law that took effect in September 2011. That, women in the military, other issues as well. Do you see that? Do you sense that from the people you talk to, that while they may not agree with the president, they at least are in agreement of the fact that things are changing and the culture is changing?
Well, the culture is changing, but not for the better. It is a more PC world. The military, the Don't Ask, Don't Tell, it made things stable, and it was that way for a very long time. And the problem is I don't agree with the change to lift the Don't Ask, Don't Tell, but the fact of the matter is if I became Commander-in-Chief tomorrow, I wouldn't undo it because it would further create more instability. So he is messing with matters that have been set in tradition, ways, and rules for many, many years now, and it has greatly destabilized the fighting force.
And that is a bad thing to hear when we are still in a worldwide war against terrorism, and it's only going to get worse in the years to come. I want to remind everybody, Carl Higbie joins us here, but also his book is called Battle on the Home Front, a Navy SEAL's mission to save the American dream, as the SEALs and so many members of our military do every single day when they go out into the field, no matter where they are. Carl Higbie, thanks so much for joining us. We'll look forward to talking to you again.
Thank you. You too.
All right, take care. Short pause, and we're back with another high-profile trial about to begin. And people still wondering why it is so many seem to get off on the insanity defense when they should be called to pay more seriously for their crimes. And at 51 minutes after the hour, the dream continues on Midpoint.